Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Arrows. It's been a hot minute since I've seen any of you, but today we're going to talk about my first thoughts on Diablo IV, the early access beta. We'll talk about the open beta this coming weekend. It actually starts tomorrow. I also was fortunate enough to play the closed beta back in November, December. I put a lot of time in the Barbarian, put a lot of time in the Sorcerer for early access. I put a lot more time into the Sorcerer, and then I dove into the Rogue. So I kind of want to give, overall impressions, how I feel about the game, look, feel. I kind of want to go over a little bit of the, other impressions out there, and I have a couple hesitations. So there's some things that I'm, kind of reserving my overall opinion on until the game actually launches, and we'll see how all these systems work together, and what some of these other features are about. So stick around. Let's dive in. So first, let's get the beta information out for you. Early access beta was last weekend. This weekend, though, March 24th through 26th is the open beta, and it's completely free to play. You don't have to pre-order the game. You don't have to make any sort of commitment to any purchases whatsoever. You can just go to battle.net, click on games, go to Diablo IV, and there's a big ass button right in the middle of the screen. It says download now, play for free. So if you're on the fence about, do I want to play Diablo 4, does it look fun, does it look like something I'm interested in, just go play the beta, or hop over to Twitch, watch the streams. There were thousands. There was a million people that played. There was a million people that made it to level 20. Then that's unlocked the back bling, or the cosmetic back piece that had the little wolf pup in it. You can unlock a couple titles. You can still do that this weekend. Again, totally free to play. If you already got a Battle.net account, if you don't have a Battle.net account, go make one. You just need an email address. Download it, play it, and make your own opinion on the game. All right, there's a lot of opinions out there, a lot. And I'll tell you straight up, it's a good game. It's a really good game. The zones are well made. They're beautiful zones. The character creation's awesome. There's so much you can do. Some people aren't altogether happy with it, but you can't please everybody. Just try it out. Just go try the game. All right. Enough of that. Enough of the beta stuff. And so just getting into my kind of overall impressions so far. Again, I can't make this more clear. It's a beta. You're going to be able to get to level 25, and in all honesty, if you just follow the campaign or the overall story, like main storyline, and play through, you get to watch the cinematics, and they're really good. The cinematics are really good. The character development's it's pretty good. I mean, for a game, it's not a blockbuster movie or nothing, but the cinematics, like Blizzard's kind of known as like the gold standard for in-game cinematics for a long time, and the rest of the industry, they sort of caught up, and they're in the mix. Diablo 3, I thought had some pretty intriguing storyline. I was not altogether happy how what they did to our guy, Deckard Cain. He's kind of our daddy in the world of Tristram, like our granddaddy. It always has all the stories for you, but it's still pretty engaging for the most part. You play that thing one time, and then it's then you get into the gameplay loop. It's you log in, You kill monsters, you get loot, and then you look and see if it's better than the stuff you're already wearing, and then you do it again. And that's, it's not just like the feature of the Diablo franchise. I mean, it's kind of what it's built on. I played Diablo 1 years and years and years ago, a long time ago. Make myself look real old right now. And when Diablo 2 came out, I immediately knew I'm never going to play Diablo 1 again. Diablo 2 is such a massive improvement, and it was. And the look and feel was a lot like Diablo 1. It was faster, way faster, enormously faster. The itemization was a lot more intuitive, I guess. But so, our first things first. Like I said, the graphics are great. Gameplay's good. The cinematics really good. The combat super smooth. It's kind of what the OG player base for a Blizzard title. It's what they expect from a game from Blizzard. Good combat, good gameplay experience. Like when World of Warcraft launched way back in 2004, the gameplay itself was so smooth. The quest lines, it was so immersive, and that immersion that you experience in World of Warcraft was never really a thing in the Diablo franchises. Diablo 4 is immersive. The clan I'm in for Diablo 3 Plus for Life, it's just packed full of characters. I mean, Hog, Alpha, EBN, Arctic. I mean, there's so many guys. They're so active. There's, first season start, I think there was probably 35 people in the Discord. So if you're just sitting in like the main lounge in the voice channels, it's chaos. It's like being at your, if you got like a huge family and you're all at grandma's house for Thanksgiving, it's just, everyone's sort of ripping on each other and having a good time, just pure chaos. And that's sort of the experience that we're used to in that Discord. And at one point during the beta last weekend, it was dead silent, and there were like, I don't know, probably 10 or 12 players. We're all sitting in the same voice channel, and it's just stone cold silent. Everyone is just super focused on, what's going on in the game. And that's when it really kind of dawned on me that the immersiveness or the immersion that you get in Diablo 4, it's pretty new for this title, for this franchise, in my opinion. I feel like that's something that's never really been a big part of what playing a Diablo game was about. Like I talked about already, it was, you get in the game, you pick your character, you slap a name on it, and then you go kill demons, pick up loot, see if it's better than the gear you're already wearing, and then repeat. And that's that. So like I said, like I was getting into, it's just a beta. We're at level 25. You're really not seeing any of the good stuff yet. And we had a lot of people put a lot of hours into their little level 25 characters, and they're finding, the cool stuff where everyone's like, oh, what's biz? We're going to find out what biz. No, you're not. You're not going to find out what's biz. You're not even, I think the Butcher dropped the Cleaver. I think that was a unique item. It might be the only one that I personally heard of. I didn't see it. I didn't get that item. So I don't really know what it's about. But a lot of the people that were like, really fascinated about the Barbarian said it was really good. But against level 25 and max level's 100, we could only access world tier 2. And if we put this in a Diablo 2 perspective. Okay, let's say this open beta was Diablo 2. Essentially, what we got was we could go to the cathedral in Act 1. We could track down Andariel. And, it's kind of the level of loot that we were seeing too. Nothing crazy, nothing game-breaking, nothing that really was going to just make my build and just bust my character wide open. So a lot of us, we sort of reflected on what, that sort of meant for the people who were playing the beta, and put a considerable amount of time in trying to, just get this knowledge discovery, get that knowledge discovery ball rolling. Seeing how the systems work with, lucky strike, how crit affects your build, the armor systems and the mob scaling. There's a lot of stuff we're just kind of poking around, theory crafting, testing out all the skills we had access to. And one thing that, a lot of us talked about during the beta was that everybody, kind of leaned towards, that class that you wanted to play. Now, Diablo 3, like, Demon Hunter is, like, hands down my favorite class. I played a lot of the other classes, played a lot of builds. But I always find myself going back to Demon Hunter. I really enjoy that class in that game. So when closed beta came out, I said, man, I'm not going to do this rogue. I'm going to try some of these other classes and see what's out there. I don't want to sink 1,000 hours into this rogue and then find out, a couple months into the actual release that, maybe the sorcerer was way more fun, and I've just been, missing out on that. So yeah, I dove right in, made a barbarian first, and some of the systems as far as the skills go is that they're not all the same. Like the barbarian, you can hands down you can equip the most items because you can equip 4 weapons at a time, same time, 2 one-handed weapons, 2 two-handed weapons, and then you can kind of pick and choose what weapons your skills are going to use when you're doing damage out in the world. And that was pretty cool. That's something new. That's very new for Diablo. We've had a main hand offhand sort of system since forever, since Diablo 1. You can board and sword, run around on your warrior, fast attack, melee, high defense, high block chance. That's nothing new, but equipping 4 weapons, that's new. Then you got the enchanting slot for the sorcerer. It's like giving yourself an extra passive. It's like kind of when the Hellfire amulet was the way to go before Squirt's amulet was introduced into Diablo 3. Kind of what that feels like. You get that extra passive, and it's, if it's something that's like a damage passive, that's pretty big. Or you get a defensive passive that could be big too. So those are the kind of things that are a lot different, noticeably. So just initial thoughts. The combat itself, it kind of feels like Diablo 3. You click the button, your character does the thing. Again, that's part of a polished product. Blizzard used to be known for. So I have no complaints. Gameplay's good, smooth, and it does the things that you expect it to do. The dash cooldown kind of sucks, or evade. I think it's called evade. Actually, you hit the space bar, you kind of just do a quick little jump slide. Short distance, get a couple charges. The potion system's different. Diablo 1, Diablo 2. So you buy the potions, you throw them on your belt or in your little stash slot, and then you click the button, you use the potion. Diablo 3, you just have one potion, then it's on a cooldown. Getting your ass kicked for a bit, hit Q, and then your potion's on a cooldown. So the potion system in Diablo 4 feels like Diablo 2 because you can upgrade the charges on your potion. I think in the closed beta, the highest I saw was, I think someone had like 16 potion charges, might have been the highest I saw or heard of. And, you know, you can kind of pop those pretty quick. So kind of like the Diablo 2 potion thing where, you know, if you got that, you know, 12 slot or 16 slot belt, and then you buy the potions and you put them in there, and then when you hit your 1, 2, 3, or 4, whatever, however you had it mapped, you know, use the potion and you go buy more. Well, this one you don't keep them in your inventory, so that's a little different. It's unique. It's kind of like I said, it kind of feels like a blend from the Diablo 2 and Diablo 3 potions. Something that is new in Diablo 4, get elixirs, and right off the bat, as soon as you get mats, start getting those elixirs, because no matter which one you use, you can have like a bit of a defensive buff or a bit of an offensive buff, and they're not significant. They're not going to make you feel powerful, or they're not going to make you feel like you have to have it. But every elixir, the stats last for 30 minutes, and you get a 5% more experience when you have an elixir buff up. So that is significant. So as soon as you're able to get into, you know, Cold Shot or whatever, you get into a town, you find the alchemist, and start making those elixirs. Always have them. Going to do dungeons, doing the world events that pop up on the map. You're gonna go kill a world boss, have elixirs. 5%. That is something that feels good. All right, we'll get into a quick overview of the classes. I don't want this video to be too long. It's already getting there, but we'll just cover the classes a little bit, and then we'll get into my hesitations. Try to throw up our classic campfire here. So in the beta, early access beta, you play sorceress, the rogue, or the barbarian. Barbarian, classic hack and slash, classic ARPG character. You know, it's melee all the way. You're doing a lot of crowd control, a lot of physical damage. Again, we talked about the arsenal, and we'll get into that. We're gonna make a lot more content for each of the specific character classes for Diablo 4. So, you know, stay tuned for that. I have a lot of just raw game footage captures we're gonna start putting up, and start making some, you know, class overviews. Just stay tuned. It's coming. It's a lot. You know, I'll still gotta work full time, and then you know, I'll try to get some gaming in, and then try to make a little bit of content too. So it's slow. We're getting there. But Barbarian, I'm gonna be honest, feels a little underwhelming. Now, a lot of guys in my clan were playing the Barbarian and had a great time, fantastic time, but most of them didn't play other classes either. So just sort of sticking my feelers out there, some you know, anecdotal research, if you will. People weren't overall impressed with the Barbarian, and I think there's some validity to it, because if you guys haven't seen the patch notes, Barbarian's getting boosted up a little bit, getting buffed a little bit already. And we're just between early access and open beta. This isn't like, oh, well, the open beta is done, and, you know, all the devs and the development team had time to sit there and look at all the bug reports and all the feedback from the players, and, you know, really dove into all of like, you know, I'm sure there's lots of issues. So just the fact that it's been like a 1 week turnaround, and, you know, we get Barbarians are getting buffed already. Now I will say, I think some of the bitching and moaning about the Barbarians may may have been rooted in people not really understanding the arsenal and how it works and how that affects the build overall. And I think that that's probably a bit of it, because those mastery skills or those level ups for your weapons, once you get that, like your one-handed axes to level 10, and then you're getting more crit, and then you're getting like 10% lucky strike chance. That's big. If you're out there fighting a mob, it's got a large health pool, or it's got a lot of armor inherently, just for the way the mobs scale in Diablo 4. That lucky strike, it's basically an execute. It is an execute. Like, once lucky strike procs, it kills whatever you're hitting. So if you weren't paying attention to those mastery levels on your weapons, for your two-handed weapons, your one-handed weapons, and you didn't get that arsenal fully optimized with all those bonus stats, all those bonus damage stats, some of them are defensive stats too, I can see how a lot of people would have felt like the Barbarian was underwhelming. But I think end-game potential for the Barbarian is they're going to be extremely strong, really strong characters to play. The Sorcerer, huge AoE damage. Frost, super fun to play. I really like the Frozen Orb. It just feels super nostalgic. The Frozen Orb Sorceress was one of my favorite builds in Diablo 2. I played hundreds, probably thousands of hours between the Diablo 2 like Lightning Sorceress and the Frozen Orb and Blizzard Sorceress. And Blizzard and Frozen Orb, it's got that look and feel that Diablo 2 Blizzard Sorceress, just mowing down those Bell's minions when the little cloud will pop out, and then these massive demons just all of a sudden running at you, beating at you, like then. But that Frozen Orb just popping them all as soon as they spawn. It was one of the most satisfying things in that whole game. And it kind of feels like that. Diablo 4 Sorceress kind of feels like that. That Frozen Orb, it feels good. I really like the Legacy of Dreams Frozen Orb build in Diablo 3. I had a lot of fun playing it. It's like super off meta. Never the strongest. It's certainly not the fastest. Your mobility's trash. Your survivability's trash. But man, it was still pretty cool. Just get a huge pack of monsters, just mow them down with Frozen Orb. But so I like it. I like it a lot. The gameplay was really fun. They're mobile. They're more mobile than the Rogue. They're more mobile than the Barbarian. To get like leap attack or something like that, but I don't know if that's the way to go with the Barbarian. Maybe there's some. If you plan on doing some group play, I think you can work in some stomps and shouts or whatever. But there's Barbarian. It's not. Gameplay's gonna be very different very different, but also a lot of the same from like Diablo 2 and 3. And then we got the Rogue. So you had the Rogue, Diablo 1. It was a pretty not fun class to play. I mean, a lot of bows dropped, but you take a lot of damage playing Rogue. Then in Diablo 2, you had your Amazon and the Assassin. If the Amazon and the Assassin became one class, so you got all those archery skills, and you got all those traps and those martial arts skills. That's your Rogue for Diablo 4. It's the Assassin. The D2 Assassin. It was really fun to play, though. It was a lot more fun than I was expecting it to be. Diablo 2, I liked the Amazon. I liked the multi-shot build on Amazon on Diablo 2. I didn't really get into any other builds. I think I was I was in a public game doing bail runs, and I saw someone in there with just this incredibly badass Amazon, just destroying like entire maps with that multi-shot. It was cool. I had to do it, so spent a lot of time building it. Outside of that, though, there wasn't a lot that I enjoyed about the Amazon, and it's probably because I just didn't devote a lot of time to it. I really enjoyed playing the Sorceress. I really liked playing the Druid. I really liked playing the Necromancer too. That's kind of where I was at in D2. In D3, you got that Demon Hunter. So that kind of, your Demon Hunter was that rogue, archer, kind of Amazon type class. I really liked it. I liked the Demon Hunter so much because of it's fast. You can zoom around the map, do enough damage, do what you got to do, and it's super versatile. I really like the versatility. I think the rogue in Diablo IV is going to be that sort of versatile build. You're not doing bounties. You're not doing endless Nephilim rifts. You're not doing endless greater rifts. That's not the end game system for Diablo 4. I'm not really 1,000. I'm not 100% sure on what the end game system exactly is going to look like for Diablo 4. I mean, a lot of people don't know. There's a lot of opinions that are being extrapolated from a very limited amount of data that's out there, but I don't think endless rifts are not going to be the end game for Diablo 4. It might be in the endless dungeons, going out there and finding those dungeons that get you your chance to drop. But I personally think it's going to be the Tree of Whispers, farming that currency to go get your armor caches or your weapon caches from the Tree of Whispers, because that feature, it's not available in the early access beta and the open beta, but during the closed beta, the Tree of Whispers was I found myself going there a lot, and anytime I would kind of cross through a zone where there were events happening that I could rack up that currency so I could go get a cache from the Tree of Whispers, I did it. I never missed a chance for that. So I think, my own personal opinion, I think the end game for Diablo 4 is going to look a lot like that. Looking for those world events, stronghold type stuff, even just cursed chests even. And then the dungeons. So the dungeons there's going to be dungeons that are going to give you a higher chance of finding like a specific piece of armor. Like if you're kind of got an idea of where you want to go with your build and what you want your end game build to look like, you're going to find those dungeons and be like, man, I really need this helm. And something I thought was really cool. I was so excited to find it playing the closed beta. I got a Harlequin crest for my sorcerer, and one of the stats on it was +3 to all skills, just like what you saw in Diablo 2, and +3 to all skills. Now the skill system itself it's not the same. It's not even close to the same. It's like Diablo 2, and I'm not saying it's better or worse. They're not the same, because you got your synergies from your skill tree in Diablo 2. Like if I wanted to run Frozen Orb, it was mandatory to have my 20 points into Frostbolt and my 20 points into Ice Shards or whatever, my Cold Mastery. Like you had to have that because the synergies were such a huge part of it. I don't really see anything like that yet, but nobody's for the most part we haven't really seen like the full Paragon board either. Your Paragon's been capped at 200 points, and kind of depending on the nodes that you choose on the Paragon board will determine where you end up at the end of the Paragon board. And a lot of it felt like insignificant, just doing like 1 point at a time, but I think 200 points on that Paragon board is going to be a pretty big deal, and it's going to be a big part on making your build correct. So this weekend though, open beta, you're going to be able to play the Necromancer, you're going to be able to play the Druid, and I'm definitely going to put some time into both of them. I know the Druid, I've seen the Hurricane skill, guys running around on the map, just blasting everything with Hurricane. Also felt very nostalgic, felt very cool, you know, just kind of reminded me of like running through the lower Kuros and just mowing down all those little Stygian dolls, Hurricane. It's good times. So it looks good. Druid should be fun. I'm looking forward to trying it. Necromancer should be fun. Looking forward to trying it. We'll play them all. If you haven't done the betas, if you haven't got into Diablo 4, if you're somehow here, just try it. The game is really good. So it kind of is just gonna lead me into some of the things that I'm kind of hesitant about. I have a lot of excitement. It's probably like the most hype I've felt for a video game release, probably since I mean maybe Cataclysm, when that expansion came out for World of Warcraft. I mean, Wrath, such a good time, really good time in World of Warcraft timeline, and I really enjoyed Cataclysm too. It got a ton of hate, but I think, you know, looking back after Legion and Warlords of Draenor and Shadowlands, and I think Cataclysm might have got a little bit of undeserved hate. Is all right, but you know, but that's kind of where I'm at with Diablo 4. I'm ready. I've had a great time playing Diablo 3. It's been super fun. Met some like really awesome people. It's a really good game for busy people. You know, you're not having to put in, you know, 10 hours a week just to do your daily quest, just to get your random little currency. You can go upgrade one armor piece once every 2 weeks. You know, that is tedious. So that was something I really like, kind of appreciate about, you know, just playing the Diablo franchise. You get in, you know, do some boss runs, do some Andy runs, do some Mephisto runs, and then, you know, you log off and it's fine, no big deal. You could still feel like you're making progress without, you know, putting hundreds and thousands of hours into just grinding the same quests every day. I mean, I'm not kind of making it feel like I'm throwing some shade at MMOs. I'm really not. I don't have the time that I had, you know, 12, 13, 14 years ago to play video games like that, and it affects your overall experience. So that's kind of when I came back to Diablo 3, and that the Diablo 3 launch is a big reason why I have some hesitations about Diablo 4, and we'll go ahead and get into that. You guys know what that is? Yep. That is the real money auction house from Diablo 3. It was a feature that came out in launch. It was something they talked about a lot in the pre-launch production, in the, you know, gameplay trailers and all this stuff. It was a, you know, kind of this hyped thing, and I remember first hearing about it. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, right? So that, you know, in Diablo 2, it was if you got into that sketchy world of purchasing items from third-party sites, you know, there was a lot of people that were getting their accounts hacked or just straight up getting ripped off. You know, people would go to these websites and pay their money and then, you know, wouldn't get any gear. And then there was a lot of people go to these websites, pay their money, get their gear, get their runes, get their rune words, get their entire build and, have someone sort of help them along. There was some pretty well-known glitches in the Diablo 2 leveling process where you could kind of, cheese your way past the rite of passage, or the, killing the ancients before you can get into the Worldstone Keep. And then you just sit in town while Diablo dies, and then bam, roll the credits. You're going on the Nightmare. Waypoint your way through Nightmare. Sit in town again while the ancients get killed and Baal gets killed. Now next thing you know, you're in hell. And then you got your buddy running you to the Chaos Sanctuary, and you do a shitload of Chaos runs till you're like level 75 2 hours later, probably with at least a decent amount of kit. But the real thing was, like, that stuff was cheap. You could buy Zod runes for like $6. You can buy base items, the highest quality white base items, 6 socket items, 4 sockets, 5 sockets, whatever you needed to put your build together. You could buy it. Diablo 2 is pay to win, and that's gonna ruffle some feathers. It was pay to win, and it was super easy and cheap. It wasn't egregious like predatory even for some other games that have come out recently. But if you look at how the ladder resets went and those guys that were racing to the top, there were a large collection of players that were bot accounts that were just smashing the ladder restart to get as many rare items as they possibly could. They'd get that bot just running the Countess over and over and over and over and over and over again, thousands of runs. You didn't have to find a Zod rune to sell one. You could use the cube, upgrade them, get enough hells and lums and pulls and all that. You can craft whatever rune you need. And honestly, the Zod rune got a ton of hype. It was such a small percentage drop chance. Rarest item in the game and all that. It was really only used for Breath of the Dying. That was it. One rune word. So it was like one of those mythical things. Kind of how the Stone of Jordan got way out of control. Got duped. People were just using those as currency. And it was sort of the basis of what the trade value of an item was. Oh, how many Stones of Jordan is that worth? Okay, a shitload. Got it. Listen, I love Diablo 2. I loved it. But when I got into Diablo 3, mostly I would say WoW. WoW kind of pulled me away. And, if you got a lot of purists out there, Diablo 2 fanboys, Diablo 2 simps. There's so many of them that Blizzard remastered the game and relaunched the game. Now, I think there's a lot of reasons they did that. For one, they're probably catering to that community of the D2 simps, the D2 purists. But I also think it garnered a lot of attention and bringing people back to Diablo 3. This was probably the launch of Diablo 3 was probably the first time that I personally experienced that whole fuck you guys feeling with Blizzard. And this is a good ways after the Activision buyout and that sort of merger, and then the sort of dissolving of Blizzard North, which was started out as a separate company from Blizzard altogether. And Blizzard North those were the, what a lot of people came to believe were those like OG developers that just, really loved the RPG, the hack and slash, the dungeon crawler, and it really was groundbreaking for the time. Like, in the mid 90s, mid to late 90s, you get Diablo, like the original Diablo hits the market. That was some shit no one had seen before. What? You'd look like you just like walk around and kill a monster and like it dies. You keep going. Some of the most popular RPGs at the time was like, with like Final Fantasy. I remember playing Final Fantasy on the Nintendo, and it sucked. It was so slow. Most of your stat sheets just kind of looked like a command line session, just black screens, white text. Like, it was so unfun, and there was a lot of really engaging, flashy graphics, fast paced gameplay and stuff. So like, the RPG was dying. There weren't a lot of people that were just super hungry for the next sequel for Dragon Warrior. Like, you kind of walked around and you start this combat sequence with a slime, and it was like, okay, what do you want? Do you want to block or dodge or hit? I guess I'll hit. Oh, you missed. Now this slime is gonna hit you. Oh yeah, he hit you for half your health. Then you start it over again. Okay, it's in your next turn. That was turn-based. It was turn-based RPG combat, and it didn't evolve a lot from like those super early like text-based games on those early like Apple systems, or the early like IBM systems, where you were having to like load floppy disk in and mount this entire game on 1.5 megabytes of data. It was, to me, we've come a long way. That's what I'll say, and I'll say all that to say, we get here, Real Money Auction House. I felt particularly insulted by the Real Money Auction House, because there was a lot of chatter, a lot of questions. Well, what's this mean for power progression? Does this just mean that whoever has the biggest wallet has the biggest character? And they were like, nah, it's not going to be like that. And that's bullshit. The real kicker was that the drop percentage for legendary items, for example, were so incredibly low. Like, people talk about how rare finding a primal ancient is, and that's that, right around that 1 in 400 items, 0.025% chance, 1 in 400. I feel like just legendary items was less than that. I think it was less than that. It had to have been. I think I played the game just doing the campaign. I was probably level 40 or so before I ever saw a legendary item drop, and I didn't even think about putting it on the auction house because my character was so weak. Like, I think I had like probably a full kit of rares. Those things dropped like crazy. The yellow items were everywhere. The blue items were everywhere. But the drop rate was so bad for legendary items. Like, I didn't even make it to level 60. And then looking at the prices of the items on the auction house were fucking. It was terrible. It was terrible. I mean, $200, $300, $400 for for a belt, for weapons were insane. They were insanely expensive, and the Blizzard, like, as a company, they were getting like super pressed about it. People were asking questions like, "Hey, motherfuckers, you guys are the ones getting a cut of every single transaction in the real money auction house." And then all of a sudden, there's like no legendary loot drops in this game. Like, it smells like a scam. It smells like bullshit. And I personally think it was. I mean, Blizzard will sit there and say, over and over and over again, "Oh, no, that was completely unintentional. That, we put in tons of testing and this, that, and the other." And I don't know it feels like. If it smells like shit and it looks like shit and it tastes like shit, it's probably shit. And like, that's kind of the overall impression I got. Watching that, and then finally they did away with the auction house, and they did a lot of tuning with the game, and I really didn't play it a lot from probably like season 6, 7 till like. I think it was probably like season 18 or 19 before I really kind of got back into playing Diablo 3, like giving it like a second chance. And I had some friends that have been playing, and they're like, "No, man, you got to try it. Like, you got to get back in, because they really fixed a lot of the broken systems, and they really fixed a lot of this and that." And the leveling up your trial key was a pain in the ass, and that was annoying. It would took up a lot of inventory space, just having all these different level keys and stuff. And then anytime you want to try another greater rift, then you gotta get some more keys, run another trial, maybe hopefully you don't get clapped by just some random spinner throwing your damage back at you, and you can get your key leveled up past 60 or 70 or whatever it was the last one that you had. And then you spend them and they're gone, so you get another keystone. Then you gotta do the trials, level it up again. It was monotonous. It was tedious. It was more tedious than it needed to be. The Nephilim Rift, Greater Rift system, it's a simple system. I like it. A lot of people find it incredibly boring, and that's fine, and that's totally fair. I get it. Like, you can only do the same thing so many times for, you lose interest. But that Diablo 3 launch was a huge, like, any excitement I had, any like enjoyment, or like it was all just like completely sucked out of me. Like, I was like, if I'd have never played it again, I probably would have never looked back. Probably wouldn't have had any second thoughts. Like, that's how like gross it felt to see this play out in real time. And I think Blizzard lost a lot of credibility with their player base and with the fans of their titles from this Diablo 3 launch. And I honestly think because of how much that initial launch just stunk of like grossness, just stunk of greed. It just stunk of Activision's stamp on Blizzard. And the players made it well known. And I think because of that, those like first black eyes that Diablo 3 got, it's never really been sort of looked at in that same world of that same esteem that Diablo 2 had. It was a game changer. Diablo 2 came out and there was nothing like particularly new or particularly complex about Diablo 2, but it made you want to kill Mephisto 1,000 times in a row. You wanted to do that just to see what's he going to drop? You wanted to do all those bail runs. Like, that's what brought players back. And Diablo 3 could have had that. They could have. But they really fucked it up in the beginning. And that stunk. That stank from that debacle. I don't think it ever really, got cleaned off of that Diablo 3 title. And that's why you got the Mr. Llamas and the Debrunskis and the Coolies, and those guys, like, they're great players. They clearly love the game. But when they come out on YouTube and they make just as much content as they can, just shitting on Diablo 4, I think just from like an outsider perspective of it all, like, they got big channels. Their channels mostly centered around Diablo 2. That's what they do. That's the game that they love, and it's not Diablo 3. And they're going to tell you Diablo 3 is not Diablo 2. Well, no, it's not. It came out 11 years after Diablo 2. Yeah, it couldn't possibly be the same game. And then they're going to say, well, Diablo 4 is not Diablo 2. No shit. It's not Diablo 2. It's Diablo 4. It has to change. You can't just make the same game over and over and put a new number at the end of it. And then, tell your player base, well, I gave you a new game every 5 years, but then it was the same game, but it just has a bigger number on the end, Call of Duty. Yeah. That's what you got there. You can reskin the mobs and throw some new maps on it, but at the end of the day, if Diablo 3 was Diablo 2 with some new clothes, I don't think the hype for Diablo 4 would be there. Well, I don't think it would be where it's at right now. So, yeah, you're right. Diablo 3 is not Diablo 2. Diablo 4 is not Diablo 2. But a lot of the things that they talk about that they're going to tell you, it's not just those guys. I don't want to single them out. They're really, really well known. So, I mean, I see their videos pop up in my feed all the time because, well, for one, I engage with it, and then for two, they have a huge, subscriber base. So there's a lot of engagement in their content, and they've been making Diablo 2 content for a long time. But some of the key criticisms that they like to say is, well, they took the skill tree away, and Diablo 4 is basically the same skill system, but it's organized into a tree. It's basically the same skill system as Diablo 3, but they organize it into a tree instead of a data sheet, where it would give you your skills and then a handful of modifiers or runes that they call them in Diablo 3. Yeah, I mean, the tree, yep. Each little branch, you got 4 or 5 skills you can pick, a couple modifiers, some passives you can put points into, and I think one thing that's important, about that system is you're not going to be able to put all your points in all of the skills, so you are going to have to make some decisions that are going to be consequential to your overall build, but to go back to the skill tree, and you know what? In fact, let me just. All right, so I mean, everybody knows these guys. Max Roll got some, really good players over there. They're making content for, Diablo 2, Diablo 3. They play a lot of ARPGs. You get, they got their content up there. If you've never been to Max Roll, it's a really good resource for, giving you your starting point. But this is one of the build guides they have for the Lightning Sorceress on Diablo 2, and something I want to touch on. It's yes, this skill tree looked crazy. It looked like, oh man, look at all of this stuff. But especially early on in Diablo 2, before runes were a thing. So, I mean, what patch? I think it was 1.10 that they brought the rune words. Maybe 1.09. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. but the rune words itself like kind of really fundamentally changed the power progression, the power creep on your Diablo 2 builds. And so the one of the key takeaways that I want to interject into the whole conversation is that the skill system, the Diablo 2 skill system is supposedly this gold standard of the ARPG genre. And one thing I learned, kind of playing the game myself, like just doing self-discovery, and I wasn't a gamer before I played like Diablo 1, Diablo 2 even. I wouldn't say I was even a gamer back then. Like I played Diablo 2 when I had some free time. It wasn't always a lot, but I was on a ship, deployed out to sea a lot. I had a little junky laptop, and it ran Diablo 2 just fine. So I really enjoyed playing Diablo 2. With some of my friends, we'd do like the local TCP/IP connection, play those like connected network games, on a little cheap little hub. We just throw out, and everybody plugged their cable in, and we would play. And that's kind of how I played for a long time, until I started playing more in Battle.net and doing online, and playing the multiplayer games. Like you can get 8 people in there; it's pretty fun. But what I'm getting at though is like, we talk about this complex skill tree. So on your lightning sorceress, as you can see, there's nothing in cold. Frozen armor. That's it. Here's our lightning tree. Look at fire. We have warmth for mana recovery. So if we're talking Diablo 3 terms, you have a passive. Right? That's a passive. And then you look in here, telekinesis. It was kind of a skill people would like kind of cheeseball people and like scam people trying to pick up items in town and stuff. They did eventually patch that out so you couldn't use telekinesis in town. And I don't know. You're not pick up items, use objects, knock back enemies. It's not. This isn't a skill. This isn't a skill that you use in combat in any way. It's just, it's got one point in it, but the point's there so you can get to teleport. That's the one you want. 1 point teleport. So teleport is kind of a movement skill. On your wizard in Diablo 3, can you have teleport? Yeah. Is it a big part of a lot of builds? Yeah. But it's the rune. It's the rune that you use to modify teleport that makes it so valuable to many of the builds in Diablo 3. If you're using safe passage, you can kind of teleport out of a big pack of mobs, save yourself from a death, and then as soon as you teleport to the other side, you have some you're invulnerable for a couple of seconds. So that's one of the runes for teleport. There's no runes. There's no modifiers for teleport. It was just something to fly around the map. The same map that you would run over and over and over to get to Mephisto or the Chaos Sanctuary or Baal's throne room. Like you ran the same shit over and over and over again, over and over and over, hoping you would find that lidless eye, or you would find you have like a perfectly rolled set of chance guards, or your war traveler's boots. There's a handful of things that were really valuable. If your goal was to do like in-game content and go after that like level 99, that max level, which was it was a massive achievement for Diablo 2, to be honest. I mean, if you had multiple characters at level 99, you had put in a significant investment into those characters, because that leveling was not easy. Like once you got past 70, 75, and if you had fucked up your skill tree and you couldn't kill anything, and Act 1 in hell difficulty, which happened a lot. That was it was time to delete that character and start the whole process over again, because there wasn't a way to reassign your skill points. Later you had that quest that you get from the NPC from Act 1, but you complete that quest on 3 difficulties and that's it. You get 3 respecs. And for a long time, that was it. If you had spec'd for, a meteor build, and then you like gathered all this equipment that you had to finally make like a badass lightning sword, and you had already done those 3 respecs, you were making a new sorceress. That was it. I mean, you still have the items, sure, but you were leveling another character up to level 80, level 85, so you could equip those items and then have your lightning build. But lightning mastery is a passive. Thunderstorm you never use, ever. It's got 1 point in it, and it's just so you could get to the lightning mastery. Energy shield has 0 points in it. You know why? Everyone used frozen armor on this build. Which is essentially a defensive passive. I guess you could call it a cooldown, but it lasts for fucking ever. 156 seconds at level 2. So static field, I mean, this was actually a decent, like, a strategic skill. It would do a percentage of damage. And that like scaled with the amount of life that mob had left. Lightning Nova, you never use. I mean, there's 20. You see that it has 20 points in here, but if you look at Lightning, receives bonuses from Nova, 8% lightning damage per level. So that's significant. You didn't use this skill, but it synergized with your lightning. The lightning was your primary skill. Chain lightning was like probably your second most used skill. Lightning was where you were doing your most damage. You get 3 to 5,963, and then your chain lightning 3 to 3,000. But it would hit a lot of mobs. So, chain lightning was like especially useful if you just had like a whole bunch of density, and you could throw out chain lightning, and while that was like crawling through your little mob pack, then you can sort of snipe some of the more hard-hitting mobs with the chain lightning, or with your regular lightning. And then charge bolt it wasn't a skill, like you just didn't use it all the time. And then situationally, static field was like a situational one. Charge bolt was like a situational skill. It was kind of like a cone AoE come out in front of you. But you really look at the meat and potatoes of this build, and the lightning sorceress was one of the most efficient like in game builds around. It was extremely powerful. Did a ton of damage. But realistically, you would use teleport, fly around all over the map, hit shit with chain lightning and lightning, and situationally static field and charge bolt. So where's the complexity in that? And if you deviated from this skill distribution, this build doesn't work. It didn't work. You didn't do enough damage. You couldn't kill shit. If you try to do a hybrid lightning meteor build, it didn't work because the meteor wouldn't do enough damage to kill anything, and then the lightning wouldn't do enough damage to kill anything. So I can use 6 skills in Diablo 3. I mean, I can assign the 4 to my 1, 2, 3, 4, and then my left click, right click, and then I got 4 passives. What's that? 10 abilities that are useful and meaningful. I mean, they're not always altogether useful, but some of your D3 builds, you have some flexibility in a couple of skills. But for the most part, you got your primary, you got a generator, and then you got a resource spender, and then some utility skills. You don't have generators in Diablo 2. You use mana potions, but you cast lightning situationally, throw out a static field, teleport around, cast some more lightning. It was a simple build. There was no complexity here, and I think the nostalgic piece of it was that how many characters did you build that were completely useless because you didn't know what you were doing with your skill points, and then you got to a point where that character was like no longer serviceable. And this was before, I think it was patch 1.11. I think it was 1.11 where you can go get the keys and then get a that book of learning or whatever, where you can reset all your skill points without having to like make a whole new tune. But that was deep into the game. I'm not sure, I think the last significant patch that Diablo 2 really got was 1.13. So you're talking, that is it was quite mature. The game was very mature before they implemented a system where you could now theory craft different builds without running the risk of having to just delete that character and then level a new one. And we could go over a lot of these builds, and it's gonna be a lot of the same. So let's do late game tier list. So just looking, Blessed Hammer. The Blessed Hammer Paladin was a couple of auras. You needed Enigma, which was a rune word armor. You had to have Enigma for the teleport. Otherwise, the experience was slow. It was painfully slow. You're just walking around everywhere. The combat mechanism itself, a Blessed Hammer, was slow. I mean, you had this really long ramp up of damage where you're just standing in one place casting these hammers around in a circle, and they did a fuck ton of damage. They really did. It's an S tier build for sure, all day, every day of the week. But outside of your auras and Blessed Hammer, that was it. That was it. You weren't gonna make a hybrid Blessed Hammer Zeal Paladin. That's not a thing. That wasn't a thing. You weren't doing a hybrid smite. You weren't doing you could not. So where and it's hard having those conversations with the D2 purists, the D2 simps, because they're just gonna tell you, skill tree, complexity. It was a much more complex game. It wasn't much more complex. I think the knowledge discovery happened a lot faster for Diablo 3 than it did for Diablo 2, just as a player base in general. And I think that's because there's probably a lot of reasons that are contributing factors to that, but I think the discovery happened on Diablo 3 a lot faster, or seemingly happened a lot faster, because those gaming communities are fucking enormous now. YouTube is an enormous resource, and back in the kind of heyday of Diablo 2, you had one resource, and it was the Diablo wiki, and Icy Veins later on, but not initially. That was it. If it wasn't on those two resources, you either had to figure it out on your own, or you kind of stumble into some people in multiplayer games that give you some clues, get you on your way. So I mean, I'm not, like I said, I played D2R when it came out, and it was really cool. It was a fun experience. Like, it was, it kind of, he answered some of those, like, man, how awesome would it be if they made Diablo 2 but with like modern graphics? I don't know that we got like modern graphics. It was better than the original Diablo 2. Just the sort of look and feel of it all. But another big criticism gets pointed out for like Diablo 3 all the time. I mean, aside from like the whole skill tree thing, but the way that the set items were implemented as sort of a key piece of your character's like power progression, yeah, that probably could have been done better. Or maybe the set items were, maybe if there weren't so many sets and the set items, like the set bonuses, weren't so powerful, like, yeah, maybe that would have changed a lot of people's opinions on what it means to have like a powerful character in Diablo 3. But I still think you would have had those guys that are like, well, Diablo 2 is still way better because of rare uniques and runes. There's no runes in Diablo 3. You got legendary gems is kind of what replaced that rune system. And it was an okay system. Legendary gems, I mean, you could do, a lot of... I mean, there's like 6 of them that are meaningful, and the rest of them are like situational, and then the rest are fucking useless. But it's okay. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you just don't do that. If you're still watching, don't do that to yourself. Don't get Diablo 4 hoping that it's gonna make you like feel the way that you did when you played Diablo 2, because it's not. If you try to play Diablo 4 comparing it to Diablo 2, it's not Diablo 2. Diablo 2 came out over 20 years ago. It's not the same game. It's like the engine itself is far more sophisticated. The combat and the gameplay is way smoother. It feels better. It's way less clunky. The animations for your skills and just existing in Tristram in Diablo 4, it's not Diablo 2. Don't do it to yourself. Don't say, if they had runes, like they're not gonna have runes. They probably never will have runes. I don't know. Maybe not. I hope not. But then you got the guys that are like, oh, well, I see these items that I'm getting from my loot drops, and they look like copy and pasted items from Diablo 2. Well, there's a lot of stuff in Diablo 3. And if you haven't played Diablo 1, there's a lot of Diablo 1 items. They're copy and pasted into Diablo 2. And copy and pasted into Diablo 3. Like, it's Diablo. It's the same franchise. Like, none of that makes sense. Like, what? How's that like your key takeaway of this is Diablo 4 and this is why it's trash? Because you could get Leoric's crown. You could get Leoric's crown in Diablo 1 pretty early on. I think it's like on the 3rd floor. I don't understand that take. I don't understand the comparison. And then the skill tree thing, the D2 simps are going to say, well, you got your skill tree, but it's just the Diablo 4, or it's just the Diablo 3 skill system, and they just put it on a tree so it looks like a tree. I was like, well, take this tree here. Let's just look. I'll hold up air quotes for you. For the Diablo 4 tree, and see which one has more options. It's the Diablo 4 one. There's way more options. Like, I think the flexibility that you're gonna have for your builds, for your like theory crafting. And when I felt it playing the rogue, it felt more the rogue, like it felt far more flexible than the other two classes, I would say. I mean, there were some real specific like basic skills that felt stronger for the barbarian than like the others, but on the rogue, like if you wanted to do like the melee style build and do shadow step and backstab, kind of the classic like rogue feeling, like it was powerful. It was really strong, killed tons of stuff, and you could get in and out of like crowds of enemies and demons and burn them down. The shadow step has like a really, really quick cooldown, did a lot of damage. But also that like the archery skills felt really good too. They had like a multi-shot type of skill. I don't remember what it's called. I don't know, like splitting arrow or something like that. I don't remember. But it did a lot of damage. Like you could just mow down like waves of monsters one after another. Doing the world events with like the range build on rogue, it was really fun. I think you had some knife throwing skills. Puncture was a really strong skill, and those were all like low level skills. You had like a penetrating arrow, I think, was one of the basic skills. Hit a few mobs, and then you could get modifiers for that. And there were gear, like there were stats you could get on your items that would like improve that chance to pierce for your arrows. It was a really fun build, and it again, you can only get up to level 25. So I don't know what rogue looks like in game, but I hope that it's still gonna be like just as strong at level 100 if you still want to play like a ranged style or like the melee style. So I hope that happens. The last thing for my hesitations is the next example, and I'm sure this one's much fresher than the Diablo 3 launch, so I'm sure most of you are going to know immediately what I'm talking about. Because remember this guy? Wyatt Chang, the lead developer for Diablo Immortal. This was a reply to a tweet about being able to buy power in Diablo Immortal. I don't know how many interviews this man sat through and said, you will absolutely not be able to buy power in Diablo Immortal. You will absolutely not be able to buy gear with cash money, with real world currency in Diablo Immortal. He even called it misleading information. Misinformation, if you will. Buying power in Diablo Immortal is straight up misinformation. Now, if any of you guys were dumbasses like me and got excited even a little bit to play Diablo Immortal on your phone or tablet or even on your PC, it probably didn't take you long to feel like a dumbass again, because it was pretty apparent where your power comes from on any of those builds in Diablo Immortal, and it was the legendary gems. The legendary gems that you couldn't even possibly get them to drop unless you were buying the epic crests or whatever the fuck those things were called, that you had to buy like $20 a pop, or maybe it was like $25 to use like all 3 crest slots with the epic crests to run a dungeon one time to maybe get a gem that might be tier 5 or level 5 or whatever fuck they were. This was like at watching the Diablo community have that feeling sink in, that Diablo Immortal wasn't just pay to win. It was criminally predatory. It was disgusting. It was so bad. I think I was like level 25-ish, maybe 30. I don't think I even got to level 30, honestly. And I had kind of hit like a progression wall. There wasn't any more like storyline stuff I could do, and the quest was essentially like, okay, no more storyline. You got to be like level 30 before you can continue. And I was still like probably 4 levels away, 3 levels away or something like that. So, I'm just running around this like library killing these little packs of monsters that would spawn in the world occasionally. And immediately I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go to max level like this. Like this is bad. Like I hate it. I hate everything about it. And for a mobile game, I thought the combat mechanics, the control mechanics, like it was a legit mobile ARPG. That was kind of the the feelings I had like first playing it. Hitting level 10, hitting level 15, getting my little skills unlocked, getting my little shitty legendary items that drop from little mini bosses. So in that gap where I was kind of at a level cap, I was at this like, I had completed this quest, and it's like, okay, you're not. I've already at this point. I've already got like some enormous like in-game ad that would try to peddle the battle pass, or sell me a little pack of dungeon or rift crests or dungeon crests, whatever they're called. The platinum currency gets introduced to you, through an ad. And it was like, oh, for only $79 you can get X amount of platinum. It's a hell of a deal. You should buy it right now. So I didn't buy anything in Diablo Immortal at all. And I'm like 20 something. It's probably like maybe the second day in. Might have been like the second day. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna queue for this PvP like battleground, and I went in there and I got fucking violated for the entire match. I think I was killed like 40 some times. I killed nobody. I killed nothing. I did 0 damage. I just stayed dead. There were so many people in there that they had their way with me. It was an assault. It was an assault on my literally poor crusader, because I had spent $0 on Diablo Immortal. So I started looking at these gems. Well, why are these gems so important? Oh, it's 1,000% of your actual character's power are these fucking legendary gems. And oh, by the way, if you don't pay for these little crests that give you, significantly higher, not a 100% chance, but if you buy it twice, you're probably gonna get one of those legendary gems. Just them being level 3 was a huge upgrade over level 2, which level 2 was the highest level legendary gem that you could possibly get at an extremely low drop chance if you didn't have the loot box crest. I relived some of those same disgusting real money auction house feelings that I had at the launch of Diablo 3, so I uninstalled the game and I never looked back. I mean, I've seen some content on I'm sure a lot of us saw the content. $100,000 for one in-game build for Diablo Immortal. $100,000. That's bananas to me. And a lot of the feedback, there's some people that were just like seemingly okay with that, and that's fine. If you spend $100,000 on Diablo Immortal, if you spent $5,000 on Diablo Immortal, and you're just happy as a pig and shit, and you love the experience and it was worth it to you, I mean, fine, but this is like the second reason that I have these reservations. I'm hesitant to get overly excited about Diablo 4 because I just playing the early access beta, right away you get this massive like full screen ad to pre-order the game. Like, well, most of us pre-ordered it. That's how you got access to the early access beta. It was pre-ordering the game. So that was kind of funny. But then, they had the KFC thing, just buy a chicken sandwich and you got an early access beta key. So if you paid the $10 extra or $20 extra for the digital deluxe pre-order, so you could get the early access beta, and all you had to do was just go get a sandwich from KFC. Could have done the same thing, just bought the game anyway. So there's already Activision already has their stench. Their stench is already on Diablo 4. Some of the things I noted, reading the perks for the digital deluxe or the ultimate deluxe, whatever the higher two tiers are. You got battle pass. There's battle passes, cosmetics, and that's fine. I don't care about cosmetics. Cosmetics will never influence whether I enjoy a game or not. Like, one of my favorite mobile games to play was PUBG. It's full of cosmetics. You see them everywhere. People run around the map just dripping with cosmetics. Fine, cool. I never bought them. It didn't change my experience at all. It just made my character look a lot more boring than some of the other guys, like running around in Michael Jackson costumes, clapping me out of the air while I'm jumping out of the airplane. And it's fine. I don't care about the cosmetics. But we've heard this before. We've heard it before. You cannot buy power in Diablo Immortal. This man said this so many times. And for one second, you will never, ever be able to convince me that the lead developer of a major title from a major video game publisher like Blizzard had no idea how powerful those legendary gems were going to be in Diablo Immortal, how critical they were going to be to your power progression and what your experience in Diablo Immortal was going to be like. I felt for Wyatt when they first announced Diablo Immortal. He got booed, heckled. A lot of people were, not thrilled at the idea about a Diablo title being on a mobile platform. And at the time I was like, man, I don't know, that might be a little short-sighted. I think people are being a little overly critical for this project because, I mean, for one, it's not just like the business part of it, but King Games, that was the company that made Candy Crush, and they're also in the the Activision umbrella. And Candy Crush is one of the most is one of the highest earning video games ever. Not just mobile games ever. Console, PC, mobile. It's one of the highest earning game titles ever. So I totally understand that desire to break into that market and to bring a major Blizzard title into that market. And I even, was curious about it. I was like, man, this actually could be pretty cool if it's something I could just, if I'm on like my lunch break or whatever, just pop my phone out, hop into Trish room and kill some demons like that. I started to become open to this idea. And all along the way, they had all the naysayers, all the negative Neds out there. Oh, it's going to be bullshit. It's just going to be a fucking shitty mobile game. Well, here we are, post-launch. They got quite a few seasons under their belt already. New battle pass every month. I don't know, $25 to unlock that thing. Get you a couple cosmetics. The other thing about the battle pass too was that when you completed those like extra quests that you got from your battle pass, it gave you a significant amount of XP. So when you would hit those XP gates where you had no more quests as far as the main storyline, the campaign goes, well, surely you just simply look to your battle pass to see which quests that you've completed and to get that, that big buff, that big boost of XP, and now you can continue your story. So, and we're not talking about like a major time investment. It was like day 2, hit like level 25, and we're like, all right, go like just grind out like more levels, and then you can keep playing the game. It's such. It is such a. It's like a. It just felt. It just felt like, someone like pissing on my grandpa's grave or something. Like it was. You had this like legendary game title that already has this stink still lingering from the real money auction house in Diablo 3 and the just disgustingly low drop rates of like legendary items in Diablo 3. Like it was very easy to draw the line to like, okay, extremely disgustingly low drop rates, real money auction house, where the game publisher gets a cut of every single transaction on the real money auction house. Yeah, it was for fucking money. Then Diablo Immortal comes out, and you have these like incredibly powerful legendary gems. By the way, you can only unlock 40% of that legendary gem's power if you're free to play. You can't buy power though in the game. Anybody tells you any different, it's misinformation. According to the lead developer of Diablo Immortal. So when the company itself, like when the guys that are like running the development of the game can go out on any platform, any media source, and just straight up lie to your face. And then it was like the aftermath of the real money auction house debacle in Diablo 3 when, the spokespersons for Blizzard were adamant. Oh, no. This was a simple glitch in the code. That's why the legendary item drops were so low. It had nothing to do with the real money auction house and inflating those auction prices where, we were getting a cut of every single transaction that happened. Yeah, those weren't related at all. So he's obviously fucking lying. And everybody that was involved with it was fucking lying. Wyatt Chang is obviously fucking lying about being able to buy power. There's no way you can ever convince me that he was clueless. The lead developer of Diablo Immortal was clueless to how that legendary gem system affected your overall statistical output in your in-game experience. Like he just didn't know, but no, he knew, because he was very clear when he when he would smugly correct people on Reddit, Twitter, or he would go on his little interviews, little podcasts or whatever, and he would clearly state, like, oh no, you can't buy gear, like as in the 12 equipment slots that you actually put like a piece of armor in. No, you can't buy that. So because you can't buy like a pair of gloves, you're not buying power. Even though the legendary gems are, 98% of your total power, and you're going to be like critically handicapped if you don't spend the $25 to get the 3 crests, to do the thing, to get a chance at the gem drop in, for it to be a chance of a level 5, which is it's extremely unlikely. Like, you should just bet on getting struck by lightning twice than to buy those crests, but we're still going to sell them. So like the entire design, it's clear that there was tons of thought and research that went into the monetization systems in Diablo Immortal, and they just flat out lied about it all the way up to like pre-launch. And then after launch, not only did they continue to gaslight everybody about it, but the efforts that they would go to continue to like gaslight everybody, and everybody knew, oh, this is fucking bullshit. And it was like, so these are the last 2 Diablo titles that have launched since Diablo 2. Since Blizzard North was like the guys that were making Diablo. And D2R doesn't count. I mean, that was just like a reskinned, lightly polished version of a very mature game, right? D2R was like a 20-year anniversary thing. That's a ton of maturity for an online game. Most games don't last that long, and the ones that do, like, there's a very small number of players that are still like devoted. Like, I know for Dark Ages of Camelot, for example, massive player base when it came out, had a lot of expansions, huge world, pretty popular MMO. I don't even know if that game's like supported anymore. I haven't seen one single article or news link. I haven't heard anyone ever utter the phrase Daok in probably 10 years. So, to have a game that's 20 years old and there's still, this fervor for it, it's remarkable in its own right. But, Diablo 3, predatory monetization system. Before predatory monetization systems were even a thing, they were breaking new ground on that real money auction house bullshit. And then Diablo Immortal, they broke no new ground. They were just using these FOMO strategies that every other fucking shitty mobile game, Raid Shadow Legends, like, they're gross. They're horrible. They're horrible, disgusting monetization policies where you are 100% buying power, and this massive player base of these like mobile game titles are just seemingly okay with it. And it's just one of those things that's been rode off into the, well, that's just how mobile games are. Why? But why? Like, just don't fucking uninstall them. And that those systems will go away. They will. No one's going to pay software developers and marketing teams and publishers all the money and resources it takes to develop a sophisticated game for nobody to play. So if you have to buy a fucking app from the Google Play Store, then like, so be it. I'd rather do that. I'd rather spend $10 on a decent mobile game than to try to get bent over and fucked every time I turn around in any sort of game that has any level of quality at all. So I know this is probably way longer than anybody's ever going to watch, but if you did stick around this long, like, please just let me know your thoughts. Again, I don't want these two points here. I don't want it to tarnish the luster that Diablo 4 might have for you, because I'm very, very happy with the game. I think, like I said, I think they did a great job. It's just that I see the battle pass. I see them talking about cosmetics and in-game monetization, and I have some pretty major hesitations. So hopefully that's not what happens, but time will tell. We'll see. Hopefully in June I'm not pissed off and furious and hating Activision forever. All right, thanks for hanging out. We'll see y'all around.